Today, we're talking about how the enrolled agent credential can benefit you.
The next slide, jumping ahead, is can it help me get a job, and what type of job might I be able to look for? And so, Christy, I'll turn that over to you. And if this becomes a little bit about your story and how you did it, that's absolutely fine, because that's the story that others are looking to achieve.
Okay, so I do I do get asked this question a lot, especially from maybe newer preparers or candidates who are kind of considering becoming an enrolled agent, and they're kind of on the fence, right? They don't know exactly what they want. When I started out in this business, I was just like an hourly bookkeeper, right? And for me, that was even like a second career. Like I didn't originally plan to go into tax and accounting. That wasn't what I was planning to do for the rest of my life. And I got a job as like an hourly bookkeeper. Sometimes you like fall into things. And I was telling Brian this before we started, and Jim, but I was making almost no money. This was in California 20 years ago. And I was doing payroll back when they still did payroll by hand. And I had some tax clients, and maybe some of you that are listening don't know this, but California specifically, this was when I was living in California. California specifically has a California registered tax preparer. So they have a state level licensing. Enrolled agents, CPAs, and attorneys are exempt. They don't have to do it. But if you don't have any other kind of licensing, you have to become a California registered tax preparer. You have to, take little CE every year. And I did that, right? And during that time, like I said, I was just making little hourly money. I mean, $10 an hour or something like that. The minimum wage was a lot less back then. And I heard about the enrolled agent license, and I don't even remember how I heard about it. Somebody told me you could become an EA. And I thought, well, I don't know if this is what I want to do, but it seemed like a natural progression since I was doing the bookkeeping and doing tax, and I liked it. But I thought, I'm not making very much money doing this. But I sat for the EA exam, and for those of you who think, want to know how long it takes, I had about 4 or 5 years of bookkeeping experience, just individual experience, no business experience whatsoever. And it took me about 12 months to pass all 3 parts. That's about average. So, you're going to hear stories from other people that say, oh, I passed all 3 exams in a month. And those things happen, but it's realistically, I think 9 to 12 months to pass all 3 parts is a realistic goal. And yeah, but if you start now, there's a very good chance that you could be an enrolled agent by next filing season. Absolutely. Depending on how much you study. But for me, it took a year. And I had a young son. I did it with a kid. And as my first child was born by then. And I'm not saying that it was easy, but it was absolutely manageable with a job and with a child. I made time to study. And within a year of having the EA license, it was even less than that. I did a couple of temp jobs for, let me see if I remember the name of the company. It was Agilon Finance. I don't know if they're still around, but they're like kind of like Robert Half. They're like a temp agency for people that do accounting and tax. And the demand was incredible. They wanted me to work all the time. I was declining jobs because, like I said, I had my kid. But once I became the EA, once I had an EA license, I didn't even really have that much experience, but they wanted me. And these were for like little temp jobs. And then I got a job with the state working as an accountant, making more money than I'd ever made in my life, right? Within a year. And then I left the state to make more money working for a CPA firm. And every year I just made more and more and more. So once I had the license, it was like it opened 1,000 doors for me. And this is coming from someone who I mean, I know that this is not the case for all of you, but it's like, I made almost no money before this. My family was really like lower middle class, if not lower class. And, you know, the EA license changed my life. Absolutely. Absolutely changed my life. And even now as an enrolled agent, they get my, I try to hide my email because I don't want to get solicitations. I'm fine doing the amount of work that I'm doing already. But they find my email somehow, and I get emails from like headhunters constantly. I mean, it's like H&R Block, Jackson Hewitt, this CPA firm, that CPA firm. They will contact you constantly for work. The demand is incredible. It never stops. So once you become an enrolled agent, you could work for a rep firm, you could work for a CPA firm, you could work for a chain, you could work for a franchise, you could open your own franchise,
You can start your own business.
you could start your own,
Yeah.
company,
Your
you
own
could work for
practice.
a company and have your little gig on the side, getting clients on Fiverr or Upwork, any way you want. It's very easy to do that now. When I started in this business, the online thing wasn't really a thing. I mean, how do I put this? The idea of having like a remote only practice was not really that didn't really exist when I started in this business, but now it's absolutely possible. You never have to meet with the client like in your office face to face. You could build a remote practice very easily. So the sky's the limit once you become an enrolled agent. There's so many opportunities out there.
So you've kind of talked about this, but is it safe to say that enrolled agents find jobs?
Yeah, they do. They find jobs. Well, actually, the jobs find you. Like,
well, that's even better.
yeah, because the licensing is public. I mean, you can
Yeah.
make it private, right? So
Right.
it's on the IRS website. You can look up people who have EA licenses. And a lot of like the CPE providers and a lot of those franchises, like the big franchises like H&R Block, they do like Freedom of Information Act requests to the IRS in order to get that information, because it is public. That licensing is public. And you could, in your PTIN account, just for for those of you who have a PTIN, you can choose to make that information private so that they don't solicit. But I have my information set to private and they still solicit me.
Yeah.
So the jobs will find you once you become an EA and you you get your license listed and it's public. You'll get inundated. Be like, oh, do you want to, we're looking for this and this and this and this. I mean, you don't even really have to try very hard. I'll be honest. You'll be solicited. They'll send you emails constantly. Absolutely.
Well, I mean, I know when I started being involved with EA, I got the list and found out that the EA group in my state lives a couple miles from me, because that information is public, and you go in and you find the addresses of the people that are enrolled agents. And this is something too that I see that some of the questions that have been asked are already, CPA, EA, which is better. And I don't want to get into that question right now, but we know that, and we see in the news that there's a shortage of CPAs in the US.
Yeah.
And
big shortage.
One of the things that CPAs do are taxes. And so if we just kind of follow this through the logical progression, if there's a shortage of CPAs in the US, and one of the things they do is taxes, is there's a shortage of people to do tax work. And I know from talking to companies and working with companies in India, there's a large number of people studying and becoming enrolled agents in India, going to work for the offshore companies that are
outsourcing
getting this
companies,
outsourced work. And so if you're in America and you go to your, well, not even the big four, but you go to your local CPA and you ask for tax work, it's very possible that some of that basic tax work is not being done locally, but it's going to be outsourced. And one of the places that's being outsourced to is India, because there's just not enough people qualified to do that work. And so whether you're in the US or you're in India or anywhere else, if you go into a market where there's a shortage of people and you enter that market qualified, with EA, able to demonstrate that you have the skills that are necessary, of course the jobs are going to come looking for you, because those companies are looking for, I'm sure they're all turning down work because they don't have the capacity to do it. And so
They
if
don't
you're
have the
able to add
capacity.
another enrolled agent to your team, that person's you're able to do more work. And so I think the answer is yes. Will it help me get a job? Yes, absolutely. I don't think there's really any doubt to that. And there's a place that that you're going to get that employment from. So let's kind of go to the next thing. And we've talked about how it benefits you and it will help you get a job. So the next question is, how do you do it? How do you become an enrolled agent if the desire is there? So the next is, what are the requirements to become an enrolled agent? And this is one that I'll start with, and Christy, you can fill in the details as necessary. But in essence, the requirements to become an enrolled agent or to be eligible to take the exams are minimal. You need to have a personal tax identification number, which you have to file with the IRS to get that. And one of the fields to fill that out is a social security number, a US social security number. But if you don't have a social security number, there is a form you fill out
Yeah.
in absence of having a social security number. And so if you're in the US and you don't have a social security number, or you're outside the US and you don't have a social security number, that doesn't matter. There is another form that you can fill out in place of having a social security number. And I think it's $29.95 to get in, $30 to get your PTIN, and you can't be a felon.
Follow our channel for more information about the EA exam.